Hey, my name is Sarah Berman, and for my research presentation, I chose to compare Brecht's epic theater to a specific modern day performance. Brecht was very active in the 1920s and 30s, and sometimes that old school value doesn't completely translate to modern audiences because they are unaccustomed to the differences. I plan on showing the differences of Brechtian and epic theater compared to the past and the present, with what he did with his theater and what I'm doing with my scene. First, I'm going to give a background on Brecht and his theory, and then I'm going to move on to showing how I apply that theory to my scene. Brecht was born on February 10th, 1898, and died August 14th, 1956. He spent his life as a poet, playwright, and director in Germany. His biggest contribution to theater was the theory of epic theater. According to Brecht, a play should not cause the spectator to identify emotionally with the characters, but instead should provoke rational self-reflection and a critical view of the action on the stage. The audiences should be able to adopt a critical perspective in order to recognize social injustice and exploitation, and to be moved to go forth and change the world in whatever way they can. Brecht wanted the audience to be fully aware that what they were watching was a representation of reality, not reality itself, meaning that there were aspects that could be changed. What Brecht wanted to accomplish was that ending doesn't necessarily have to be the only ending. The audience members can go and change the ending of the piece in the real world. So if they didn't like what they saw, Brecht hoped to instill a sense of power in the audience so that they could take what they saw, learn from it, reflect on it, realize what they're doing as a person, and then go forth into the world and change what they were doing or what other people were thinking or doing, and to make the world a better place to live in for future generations. One of Brecht's most important principles was Befremdungseffekt, which translates to defamiliarization effect. It's often mistranslated to alienation effect, but defamiliarization is the artistic technique of presenting to audiences common things in unfamiliar ways in order to enhance your perception of reality. But alienation effect just means isolation. So Brecht didn't really want to isolate the audience. He wanted people to look at things that they were aware of in different ways so that they could see things from more angles than just the one that they had previously been looking at the object from. Brecht's definition of that is stripping the event of its self-evident, familiar, obvious quality and creating a sense of astonishment and curiosity. So instead of, making the audience feel like they are doing something wrong and that they should be punished for it, he just wanted them to change their perspective. Techniques he used to do this were direct address to the audience, bright and harsh stage lighting, songs to interrupt the action on the stage, explanations in the middle of the show, and in rehearsal specifically, transposing the text in their script to a third-person perspective and speaking the stage directions, all of which give sort of a different perspective on everything that they're looking at. So with the translation of the text into third person, that's a different way of looking at the script. It kind of depersonalizes it and makes it kind of like an overarching thing where anybody could be experiencing this or saying this instead of this one specific character. And with the direct address, it's, changing people's norms of theater, whereas, nobody would break the fourth wall ever. Now, with Brecht, they are breaking this fourth wall and trying to change the way that the audience sees theater. Brecht wanted to use theater for social change. He essentially wanted all theatrical performances to have an end result of the audience being inspired to change the negative aspects of the world around them. So instead of seeing a show that's simply, happiness and nothing bad happens and there's love and flowers everywhere, he wanted to bring light to the social injustice that was happening around them and in their daily lives. He paired his theory with an avant-garde approach, which led to modernist realism. Modernist realism is based off of the horrors of World War I and the changing of the tides around them. So the cities were booming and there was rapid growth everywhere due to the war, and people were realizing that this horrible thing could happen and they needed to prepare for it. Brecht wanted to bring light to the fact that these horrible things were happening and that we as citizens of the world can change it. Realism is the belief that abstract concepts have an absolute existence. This movement was aimed at truth, and Brecht's overall goal was to show the truthful performances that push the audience to do something to better the world. Now for my 20-minute directing scene, I am taking a modern Brechtian approach. My whole piece is about social change, and they are college students playing children, and they're very aware that they are college students playing children. And each character has a different mental disorder, and it's the whole overlaying message of the piece is about bullying, and it shows that everybody can be the bully and everybody can be the victim, which hopefully reads as very almost ambiguous, so the people watching can realize that things that they say and things that they do can make them a bully, and things that happen to them can also make them a victim. So nobody's immune to this. It's a very universal theme, and hopefully that message comes across clearly. So it's very meant for people to see the piece that's happening and reflect on their lives and their choices, and hopefully that they can go out and realize that the person that they called fat in 7th grade isn't actually fat, and they were very horribly mean to them, and call them and hopefully, make a difference, kind of like the scene in Billy Madison, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. There's a lot of direct address that's going to be happening, so these characters aren't really necessarily saying these lines to the people that they're in the scene with. They're saying them to the audience to get the audience to realize that the actors know that they're there. So it's very breaking the fourth wall, and kind of making it less separation between performer and audience member, and making it we're all in this together, which we are. We're all in this together as a civilization, as a society, as a college, as a classroom. We're all together dealing with the same issues, dealing with the same problems at the same time with the same people for the rest of our lives. The lights are going to be very bright and harsh because they're outside on a playground in one of the warmer months and it's really sunny out. So they're going to be, not necessarily aimed at the audience faces, but the audience is going to be able to feel the warmth of the lights coming off, so it makes them feel like they're on this playground with them. There is going to be music that interrupts my scene. So with Brechtian theater, they, had music that interrupted the action of the scene, where we're going to have music that plays in our scene that kind of takes away from the seriousness of the issue and kind of gives it a moment of relief, but also applies to what's going on. And also for a homework assignment that I gave them, I'm making them write a piece of how they were the bully and how they were bullied, but writing it in the third person. So instead of me being able to tell when you specifically were the bully and when you specifically were bullied, it reads as if you could be either or. So they're basically taking the script that I gave them and realizing that anybody in the script can be a bully and is a bully, and anybody can be a victim and is a victim all at once during, this journey we call life. And so I'm making them take that script and their personal experiences and write a third-person story. And so hopefully that that story helps them realize even more that nobody is singularly a bully and nobody is singularly bullied, because we all are human and we all make mistakes. And I'm very excited to see this scene come through, and I'm very excited to be able to use one of the most influential directors, in my opinion, in my directing and in my theatrical life, that I'm very excited to be able to use his theories and put them into practice and bring his theatrical theories and his ideals back into theater, because it's been so long since anybody's, done a very straight Brechtian piece. But it also shows that you can take people's theories from, the 1800s that don't necessarily apply to today's theater and mold them and create them and make them your own and put it forth into your work, and then keep their old ideals alive and well. So that's my presentation. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.